The scent of Ethan's cologne lingered on the silk scarf I found tucked between the seats of his car. It wasn't mine. My heart raced as I clutched the damning evidence, my world tilting on its axis. "Catalina? What are you doing out here?" Ethan's voice startled me. He stood in the doorway of our modest bungalow, silhouetted against the warm light spilling from inside. I quickly shoved the scarf into my pocket, plastering on a smile. "Just grabbing my phone charger, honey. Thought I left it in the car." Ethan's brow furrowed. "In this weather? It's freezing out here." I shrugged, trying to keep my voice steady. "You know me, always forgetful." As I brushed past him into the house, the scent of his cologne mingled with something else. Perfume, perhaps? My stomach churned. Ethan called from the living room. "Don't forget, we've got that industry party tomorrow night. It's important for my career." I gritted my teeth. Another night of playing the doting wife while Ethan schmoozed with producers and directors. Of course, dear, I wouldn't miss it. The phone rang, shattering the tense silence. I answered, grateful for the distraction. "Catalina? It's Aunt Madeline." "Aunt Maddie? How are you?" "I'm fine, dear, but I'm worried about you. Are you sure everything's all right with Ethan?" I glanced towards the living room, lowering my voice. "Everything's fine, Aunt Maddie. Why do you ask?" She sighed. "Call it a hunch. You know I've never quite trusted that man. And after what happened with your cousin Riley—" "Ethan isn't like that," I snapped, more harshly than I intended. "He loves me." "If you say so, dear. Just be careful, all right?" After hanging up, I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes. Aunt Madeline's words echoed in my head, mingling with the memory of that silk scarf. Who was that? Ethan appeared in the hallway, startling me again. "Just Aunt Madeline," I replied, forcing a smile. "Checking in." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "She still doesn't approve of me, does she?" I shook my head. "She's just protective. You know how family can be." He snorted. "Yeah, well, maybe if they saw how hard I'm working to provide for us, they'd change their tune." The words stung. I'd given up my own theater career to support Ethan's acting dreams. Now, with his star finally rising, it felt like he was slipping away. "Speaking of work," Ethan continued, "I've got an early meeting tomorrow. I'm heading to bed." As he turned away, I blurted out, "Ethan, wait, we need to talk." He paused, looking annoyed. "Can't it wait? I'm tired." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "I found something in your car." His expression changed, a flicker of panic crossing his face before settling into practiced nonchalance. "Oh, what's that?" I reached into my pocket, my fingers brushing against the silky fabric. This was it, the moment of truth. But as I looked at Ethan, his handsome face etched with fatigue and stress, I faltered. It's nothing," I mumbled, withdrawing my empty hand. "Just some old scripts. I'll sort through them tomorrow." Ethan's shoulders relaxed visibly. "Great. Good night, Cat." As he disappeared upstairs, I sank onto the couch, the scarf burning a hole in my pocket. What was I doing? Why couldn't I confront him? The truth was, I was scared of losing everything I'd sacrificed for, scared of admitting that maybe, just maybe, Aunt Madeline and the rest of my family had been right all along. But as I sat there in the darkened living room, a new emotion began to simmer beneath the fear and doubt. Anger. How dare he betray me like this? How dare he take advantage of my love and support? I pulled out my phone, my fingers hovering over Aunt Madeline's number. No, I couldn't call her. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed a plan. Tomorrow night's party suddenly took on a new significance. If Ethan thought he could play me for a fool, he was in for a rude awakening. It was time to take control of my own story. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my dress for the industry party. The silk scarf I'd found in Ethan's car lay on the dresser, a constant reminder of my suspicions. As I applied my lipstick, memories of our early days flooded back. "Cat, you ready?" Ethan called from downstairs. "We can't be late." "Coming," I replied, grabbing my clutch and heading down. Ethan whistled appreciatively. "You look stunning, babe." For a moment, I saw the man I fell in love with, charming, attentive, full of dreams. But the illusion shattered as he checked his phone, frowning. "Everything okay?" I asked. He nodded distractedly. "Just some last-minute script changes. Let's go." The party was in full swing when we arrived. Ethan immediately dove into the crowd, leaving me alone at the bar. I ordered a glass of wine, watching him work the room. "Well, if it isn't Catalina Morgan," a familiar voice said behind me. I turned to see Philip, my old theater colleague. "Phil, what are you doing here?" He grinned. I'm producing now. Heard about a hot new actor named Ethan Morgan and had to check him out. Didn't realize he was your husband. I forced a smile. Small world, huh? Philip's eyes narrowed. You okay, Kat? You seem... off. Before I could respond, Ethan appeared, slipping an arm around my waist. There you are, darling. Oh, hello, I'm Ethan Morgan. Philip Reeves, Phil replied, shaking Ethan's hand. I was just catching up with Kat here. We used to work together in theater. Ethan's grip on my waist tightened. Is that so? Kat never mentioned you. The tension was palpable. I cleared my throat. Phil was just telling me about his producing work. Right, Phil said, his gaze flicking between us. Actually, Ethan, I'd love to chat about a project I'm developing. Got a minute? As they walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I mingled half-heartedly, keeping an eye on Ethan and Phil. Their conversation seemed intense, with lots of gesturing and hushed tones. An hour later, Ethan found me again, his eyes bright with excitement. Kat, you won't believe this. Philip's offered me the lead in his new film. My stomach dropped. That's great, honey. When does it start? We begin pre-production next month. It's a 6-month shoot in Vancouver. 6 months. The room started to spin. Kat, you okay? Ethan's voice sounded distant. I nodded weakly. Just need some air. I stumbled onto the balcony, gulping in the cool night air. This couldn't be happening. Just as I was starting to suspect Ethan's infidelity, he lands a role that'll take him away for months. Catalina. It was Philip. It was Phil. What's going on? I turned to him, tears threatening to spill. Nothing. Everything's fine. He sighed. Come on, Kat. I know you better than that. Is it the role? Because if you're not comfortable with Ethan taking it. No, I interrupted. It's not that. It's just... I hesitated, then made a decision. Phil, can I trust you? His expression softened. Of course. Taking a deep breath, I told him everything. My suspicions, the scarf, the late nights, and secretive phone calls. As I spoke, Phil's face grew increasingly concerned. Kat, I'm so sorry, he said when I finished. But listen, maybe this film is a good thing. It'll give you some space to figure things out. I nodded, wiping my eyes. You're right. Thanks, Phil. As we headed back inside, I spotted Ethan deep in conversation with a stunning redhead. Their body language was unmistakable. Heads close together, her hand on his arm, his eyes locked on hers. Fury rose in my chest. How dare he? Here, in public, where anyone could see. Phil followed my gaze. Oh, that's Amanda. She's playing opposite Ethan in the film. In that moment, everything crystallized. I knew what I had to do. Phil, I said, my voice steady. I think I'd like to come to Vancouver, after all, as your assistant. His eyebrows shot up. Are you sure? I nodded, my eyes never leaving Ethan and Amanda. Absolutely. It's time I got back into the business. As we rejoined the party, a plan began to form in my mind. Ethan thought he could have it all. The career, the adoring wife, and his little affairs on the side. Well, he was in for a rude awakening. Vancouver wouldn't know what hit it. Vancouver's skyline glittered outside my hotel window, a far cry from our modest bungalow back home. I'd been here for 2 weeks, watching Ethan's star rise with each passing day, and with it his ego. Kat, have you seen my lucky cufflinks? Ethan's voice echoed from the bathroom. I sighed, fishing them out of my purse. Here, he emerged, looking dashing in his tuxedo. Thanks, babe. You're not dressed yet? The premiere starts in an hour. I'm not feeling well, I lied. You go ahead without me. Ethan's brow furrowed. You sure? It's a big night for me. I know. Break a leg. As soon as the door closed behind him, I sprang into action. I'd been biding my time gathering intel. Tonight was the night I'd start putting my plan into motion. I dialed Phil's number. He's gone. You ready? On my way, Phil replied. 15 minutes later, we were huddled over my laptop in the hotel room. You sure about this, Kat? Phil asked, concern etched on his face. I nodded grimly. He needs to be exposed, Phil, for what he's done to me, to our marriage. We spent the next hour combing through Ethan's emails and text messages. What we found made my blood run cold. Look at this, Phil pointed to an email chain. He's been planning to leave you for months. Says here he's waiting for the right moment to maximize publicity. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them away. Keep looking. As we dug deeper, a pattern emerged. Ethan had been systematically using people to climb the Hollywood ladder. Old friends, fellow actors, even his own family, all pawns in his game. Kat, Phil's voice was soft. There's something else you should see. He pulled up a series of messages between Ethan and Amanda, his co-star. My heart sank as I read their intimate exchanges. Plans for secret rendezvous, promises of a future together. "I'm so sorry," Phil said, squeezing my hand. I pulled away, anger replacing hurt. "Don't be. This is exactly what I needed." Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Where are you? Press is asking about you." I smirked, an idea forming. "Phil, how fast can you get me to that premiere?" 30 minutes later, I strode down the red carpet, cameras flashing. Ethan's jaw dropped when he saw me. "Kat, what are you doing here? I thought you were sick." I plastered on my best smile for the cameras. "And miss your big night?" "Never." As we posed for photos, I whispered in his ear, "We need to talk. Now." We ducked into a quiet corner, away from prying eyes. "What's going on?" Ethan hissed. I met his gaze steadily. "I know everything, Ethan. The affairs, the manipulation, your plans to leave me for publicity." The color drained from his face. "Kat, I can explain." "Save it," I cut him off. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to end things with Amanda, quietly. You're going to finish this film, and then we're going home to sort out our divorce. On my terms." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "And if I don't?" I smiled coldly. "Then I go public with everything I've found, every sordid detail. How do you think that'll play for your rising star?" For a moment, I saw a flicker of the old Ethan, vulnerable, uncertain, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "You wouldn't dare," he snarled. "Try me." We stared each other down, the sounds of the premiere fading into the background. This was it, the point of no return. Ethan finally broke the silence. "Fine, you win, for now." As he stormed off, I leaned against the wall, my heart pounding. I'd done it. I'd stood up to him, but this was just the beginning. Phil appeared at my side. "You okay?" I took a deep breath, straightening my shoulders. "I will be. Come on, we've got a show to put on." As we rejoined the party, I caught sight of Amanda across the room. Our eyes met, and I saw a flicker of guilt cross her face. Good. Let her squirm. The game was on, and I was playing to win. The Vancouver shoot was wrapping up, and with it, my patience. Ethan's transformation was complete. He'd become a stranger, consumed by his own hype and Hollywood's glitter. I stood in our hotel suite, packing up the last of our belongings. Ethan burst in, his face flushed with excitement. "Kat, you won't believe this. I've been offered the lead in a major studio film. It's huge." I forced a smile. "That's great, honey. When does it start?" "That's the thing," he said, avoiding my gaze. "It's a 3-picture deal. We'd have to move to LA permanently." The room spun. "What about our home? Our life back in?" "Come on, Kat," Ethan interrupted. "This is my big break. Our big break. Don't you want that for us?" I bit back a retort. "Us?" There hadn't been an us for months. "I need some air," I muttered, grabbing my coat. Vancouver's streets were a blur as I walked, my mind racing. How had we come to this? The modest dreams we once shared seemed like a lifetime ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Phil. "Emergency at the studio. Need you here ASAP." Grateful for the distraction, I hurried to the production office. Phil was pacing, looking agitated. "What's wrong?" I asked. He handed me a tablet. "Look at this." It was an entertainment news site. The headline made my blood run cold. "Rising star Ethan Morgan's secret double life exposed." The article detailed Ethan's affairs, including Amanda, complete with incriminating photos and text messages. My hands shook as I scrolled through it. "Kat, I swear I didn't leak this," Phil said, his voice urgent. I believed him. But if he didn't, who did? As if on cue, my phone rang. "Ethan, have you seen it?" he demanded without preamble. "I'm looking at it now," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "This is a disaster," he groaned. "My agent's going crazy. The studio's threatening to pull the deal." A cold clarity washed over me. "What do you want me to do, Ethan?" There was a pause. "We need to present a united front, show them we're rock solid. Can you do a joint interview with me? Deny everything?" The audacity of his request stunned me into silence. "Kat, are you there? This is important. My career is on the line here." His career. Of course, that's all that mattered to him now. "I'll think about it," I said, finally ending the call. Phil watched me warily. "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath. "I don't know yet, but I'm done being a pawn in his game." Back at the hotel, Ethan was frantic. "There you are. We need to get our story straight before the press conference." "No," I said quietly. He froze. "What?" I said, "No, Ethan. I won't lie for you." His face darkened. "After everything I've done for us, this is how you repay me?" I laughed bitterly. "Everything you've done for us? You mean cheating on me? planning to leave me for publicity? Ethan paled. How did you? It doesn't matter, I cut him off. What matters is I'm done. I won't be your prop anymore. He grabbed my arm. You can't do this to me, I'll be ruined. I yanked free. You did this to yourself. As I turned to leave, Ethan's voice stopped me. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back. I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I met his gaze, seeing the stranger he'd become. In that moment, I made my decision. Goodbye, Ethan. I walked out, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing. I was reclaiming my life, my identity. As I stepped into the cool Vancouver night, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw the news. Time to tell your side of the story? Madeline Shaw, Lifestyle Magazine. I stared at the message, a plan forming in my mind. Maybe it was time to pick up that pen again, after all. I sat across from Madeline Shaw in a quiet cafe, my hands wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee. The veteran journalist studied me with keen eyes, her recorder placed between us. Are you sure you want to do this, Catalina? She asked, her voice gentle but probing. I took a deep breath. I'm sure. It's time the truth came out. As I began to speak, the words flowed like a dam breaking. I told her everything. The early days of love and sacrifice, the gradual erosion of our relationship, and finally the betrayal that shattered it all. Madeline listened intently, occasionally interjecting with questions. When I finished, she leaned back, a look of admiration on her face. You're incredibly brave, you know that? I shrugged, feeling drained but oddly liberated. I'm just tired of living a lie. As we wrapped up the interview, my phone buzzed. A text from Phil. Ethan's looking for you, says it's urgent. I sighed, thanking Madeline and heading back to the hotel. Ethan was pacing in our suite, his face a mask of fury. Where the hell have you been? He demanded. Out, I replied coolly. What's so urgent? He thrust his phone at me. On the screen was an email from his agent. My stomach dropped as I read it. They're canceling the deal, Ethan said, his voice trembling with rage. All because of those damn rumors. We need to fix this, Cat. Now. I handed the phone back, my resolve hardening. No, Ethan, we don't. His eyes widened in disbelief. What are you talking about? I'm done covering for you, I said, my voice steady. In fact, I just gave an interview to Madeline Shaw. The whole truth is coming out. The color drained from Ethan's face. You what? You heard me, I replied, standing my ground. No more lies, no more manipulation. It's over. Ethan's shock quickly morphed into anger. He grabbed my arm, his grip painfully tight. You can't do this to me. I'll ruin you. Cat, I swear I will. I yanked my arm free, adrenaline coursing through me. Go ahead and try. I'm not afraid of you anymore. As I turned to leave, Ethan's voice stopped me cold. What about Amanda? Did you tell them about the baby? I froze, my hand on the doorknob. What baby? Ethan's laugh was cruel. Oh, you didn't know? Amanda's pregnant. Guess I forgot to mention that little detail. The room spun. I steadied myself against the wall, fighting waves of nausea. A baby. Ethan and Amanda were having a baby. Cat? Phil's voice cut through the haze. He stood in the doorway, concern etched on his face. Everything okay? I brushed past him, needing to escape. The hotel corridors blurred as I ran, finally bursting out onto the street. The cool night air hit my face, bringing me back to reality. My phone buzzed. Madeline. Article's ready for review. You sure about this? I stared at the message, my mind reeling. The truth was out there now, waiting to be shared with the world. But at what cost? A child, an innocent life, would be caught in the crossfire. As I stood there, torn between vengeance and compassion, a memory surfaced. Aunt Madeline's voice, wise and gentle. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is show mercy, even to those who don't deserve it. I took a deep breath, my fingers hovering over the phone. This was it, the point of no return. Whatever I decided now would shape not just my future, but the lives of everyone involved. The city lights blurred as tears filled my eyes. I blinked them away, steeling myself for what came next. It was time to make a choice, one that I could live with, no matter the consequences. With trembling fingers, I typed my response to Madeline, sealing my fate and the fate of those around me. I stared at my phone, my finger hovering over the send button. The message to Madeline was simple. Hold the story. We need to talk. Just then, a knock at the door startled me. It was Phil, his face etched with concern. Cat, what's going on? I saw Ethan storming out of the hotel. I took a deep breath. Phil, I need your help. Things are about to get complicated. As I filled him in on the latest developments, including Amanda's pregnancy, Phil's expression shifted from shock to determination. What do you want to do? He asked. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. With trembling hands, I answered. Kat, we need to talk. Ethan's voice was unnervingly calm. Meet me at the studio in an hour. Alone. I agreed, ending the call with a sense of foreboding. Phil grabbed my arm. You can't go alone. It's not safe. I shook my head. I have to do this, Phil, but I need you to do something for me. An hour later, I walked into the deserted studio. Ethan stood in the center of the soundstage, bathed in a single spotlight. I'm glad you came, he said, his voice echoing in the empty space. What do you want, Ethan? He stepped closer, his eyes glinting. I want a divorce, Kat, on my terms. The words hit me like a physical blow. Even though I'd seen it coming, the reality was devastating. Your terms? I managed to choke out. Ethan's smile was cold. You'll sign a non-disclosure agreement. You'll tell the press our split is amicable, and you'll walk away with nothing. Anger flared within me. And why would I agree to that? He pulled out his phone, playing a recording. My blood ran cold as I heard my own voice, detailing Ethan's affairs to Madeline Shaw. If this gets out, my career is over, Ethan said. But so is yours. No one in this industry will ever trust you again. I felt the walls closing in. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed, was hanging by a thread. You have until tomorrow to decide, Ethan continued. Choose wisely, Kat. As he turned to leave, something inside me snapped. Years of suppressed anger and resentment bubbled to the surface. No, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Ethan paused. What did you say? I said no, Ethan. I won't be bullied into silence. Not anymore. He laughed, but I detected a note of uncertainty. You're bluffing. You wouldn't dare. I pulled out my own phone, hitting play on a recording I'd made earlier. Ethan's voice filled the studio, admitting to his affairs and manipulation. His face paled. How did you? I learned from the best, I replied, a grim smile on my face. You're not the only one who can play games, Ethan. For a moment, I saw fear in his eyes. Then his expression hardened. You'll regret this, Kat. I'll make sure of it. As he stormed out, my phone buzzed. A text from Phil. It's done. Check your email. With shaking hands, I opened my inbox. There it was, a contract from a major streaming service offering to turn my story into a limited series. Tears stung my eyes as the reality sank in. This was it, my chance to reclaim my voice, my story. But as the adrenaline faded, doubt crept in. Was I ready for the world to know everything? Could I handle the scrutiny, the judgment? My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Aunt Madeline. Remember who you are, Kat, her message read. Your story deserves to be told. I took a deep breath, feeling a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, it was mine to choose. With renewed determination, I dialed Madeline Shaw's number. It was time to tell my story, on my terms. As the phone rang, I steeled myself for what was to come. The real battle was just beginning. The studio lights were blinding as I sat across from Madeline Shaw, my heart pounding. This was it, the moment of truth. We're live in 3, 2, 1. The producer's voice faded as the red light blinked on. Madeline smiled warmly. Welcome, Catalina. Thank you for joining us today. I took a deep breath. Thank you for having me, Madeline. Your story has captivated the nation. She began. A Hollywood fairy tale turned nightmare. Can you tell us what really happened? As I began to speak, the words flowed easier than I expected. I recounted the early days with Ethan, the sacrifices I'd made, and the gradual erosion of our relationship. And then, I said, my voice steady, I found evidence of his affairs. Madeline leaned in. How did you react? At first I was devastated, I admitted, but then I got angry, and that anger turned into determination. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it, focusing on the interview. You mentioned a turning point, Madeline prompted. Can you elaborate? I nodded, steeling myself. It was when I discovered Ethan's plan to divorce me for publicity. He wanted to use our breakup to boost his career. The studio fell silent. Even Madeline looked shocked. That's quite an accusation, she said carefully. Do you have proof? This was the moment I'd been dreading and preparing for. I pulled out my phone, playing the recording of Ethan's admission. As his voice filled the studio, I saw the crew exchanging glances. Madeline's eyes widened. Catalina, she said softly, This is extraordinary. Are you prepared for the consequences of sharing this? Before I could answer, the studio door burst open. Ethan stormed in, his face contorted with rage. "Cut the cameras!" he shouted. "This interview is over." The studio erupted into chaos. Security guards rushed in, but Ethan pushed past them, reaching for my phone. "You can't do this, Kat," he hissed. "Think about Amanda, the baby." I stood my ground, my voice surprisingly calm. "I have thought about them, Ethan. That's why I'm doing this. The truth needs to come out." He lunged for me, but Phil appeared out of nowhere, restraining him. "It's over, Ethan," Phil said firmly. "Let her speak." As security dragged Ethan away, his shouts echoing through the studio, I turned back to a stunned Madeline. "I'm so sorry," I began, but she held up a hand. "No apologies necessary," she said, a glint of admiration in her eyes. "This is the most riveting television I've seen in years." The producer approached, looking nervous. "We're still live. What do you want to do?" Madeline looked at me questioningly. This was my chance to back out, to keep some semblance of privacy. But as I looked around the studio, at Phil's encouraging nod, at the crew's expectant faces, at Madeline's steady gaze, I knew what I had to do. "Keep rolling," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. As I settled back into my seat, Madeline leaned forward. "Catalina, you've just experienced a shocking interruption. Are you okay to continue?" I nodded, taking a deep breath. "Yes, I am, because this isn't just about me and Ethan anymore. It's about every woman who's been silenced, manipulated, or made to feel less than she is." Madeline's eyes sparkled. "Then by all means, continue. The floor is yours." As I began to speak again, pouring out the full story without holding back, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. Years of pent-up emotions, of swallowed words and stifled dreams came rushing out. But with each revelation, each painful truth laid bare, I felt stronger. This was my story, my voice, and no one could take that away from me. As the interview drew to a close, Madeline asked one final question. "Catalina, what's next for you?" I smiled, feeling a surge of hope for the first time in years. "I'm not sure," I admitted, "but I know it'll be on my terms, and that's a start." As the cameras stopped rolling, I realized this wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning. My beginning. The aftermath of the interview was a whirlwind. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, my inbox overflowed, and paparazzi camped outside my hotel. But amidst the chaos, I felt an unfamiliar sense of peace. A week after the broadcast, I sat in a sleek office overlooking Los Angeles, facing a panel of executives from the streaming service. "We want to greenlight your series, Catalina," the head producer said, sliding a contract across the table. "Your story has resonated with millions. We believe it could be groundbreaking." I stared at the document, my hand trembling slightly as I reached for the pen. This was it, my chance to tell my story, on my terms. As I signed, a commotion erupted outside. Ethan's voice, loud and angry, carried through the door. "You can't do this," he shouted. "That's my life story, too." The door burst open, and there he stood, disheveled and desperate. Our eyes met, and for a moment I saw a flicker of the man I once loved. "Ethan," I said calmly, "it's over." He deflated, sinking into a chair. "Kat, please. My career is ruined. Amanda left me. I have nothing." The room fell silent, all eyes on me. This was the moment of truth, the climax of our tumultuous journey. I took a deep breath. "You're right, Ethan. You do have nothing. But that's not because of me. It's because of your choices." He looked up, his eyes pleading. "Can't we work something out, for old time's sake?" I shook my head, feeling a surge of strength. "No, Ethan. I'm done compromising myself for you. This is my story now. I'm going to tell it." As security escorted him out, I turned back to the executives. "I'm sorry about that. Where were we?" The head producer smiled. "I think we just witnessed the perfect ending to your first season." Laughter filled the room, breaking the tension. As we discussed the details of the show, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. This wasn't just a career opportunity. It was a chance at redemption, at reclaiming my voice. Months flew by in a blur of writing sessions, casting calls, and production meetings. Before I knew it, I was standing on set, watching actors bring my story to life. On the night of the premiere, I stood backstage, heart pounding. The theater was packed with industry bigwigs, critics, and fans who had followed my journey. As the lights dimmed and the first scene played, I felt a hand slip into mine. It was Phil. "You did it, Kat," he whispered. "You took control of your narrative." Tears welled in my eyes as I watched my story unfold on the big screen. The pain, the betrayal, the struggle, but also the strength, the resilience, the triumph. When the credits rolled, the audience erupted into applause. As I stepped onto the stage for the Q&A, I was met with a standing ovation. Looking out at the sea of faces, some familiar, some new, I felt a surge of gratitude. For Aunt Madeline's unwavering support, for Phil's steadfast friendship, for every person who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. As I fielded questions about the show and my journey, one reporter asked, "Catalina, what would you say to other women who feel trapped in toxic relationships?" I paused, considering my words carefully. I would say this: your story matters, your voice matters, and it's never too late to reclaim your narrative. The room fell silent, hanging on my every word. I spent years dimming my light for someone else, I continued, but the moment I decided to shine, everything changed. So to every woman out there wondering if she's strong enough, brave enough, worthy enough, the answer is yes. Always yes. As the applause washed over me, I felt a profound sense of peace. This wasn't just an ending. It was a new beginning. My beginning. Later that night, as I stood on my hotel balcony overlooking the city, I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. "Aunt Madeline, it's Kat. I did it. I really did it." Her warm laughter filled the line. "I never doubted you for a second, my dear. Now, tell me everything." As I recounted the evening's events, I realized that this moment of connection, of sharing, of being truly seen and heard, this was what it was all about. My story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to every woman who had ever felt silenced, every person who had ever doubted their worth. And as I looked out at the twinkling lights of Los Angeles, I knew that the best chapters of my life were still to come.